So, recently everything has moved on over to the AI world, AI photographs, AI language models, but I've had zero interest in doing anything with AI. And I think part of the reason that I've been photographing more and more with film is kind of a protest to the AI stuff. I've found myself leaning more into the photographs being on my negatives and being able to look at those negatives and hold those negatives and print those negatives. And I found that whole process just to be so much more engaging and valuable. And and I think there's been like a huge shift in my mindset about that. So I've been leaning more and more into film, and I thought we could explore that a little bit here. One of the cameras that I recently picked up and I'm super excited to try out is the Contax TVS2. I just recently got this from a guy here in New York in great shape. A couple scratches, but it's titanium body, so I think it'll hold up really well over time. Um, I have yet to actually develop a single roll from this so far. I've shot two rolls, one without a DX code and one with a DX code, trying to get an idea um, how it meters and all of those things. So I'll be developing a couple rolls of film from that this week, hopefully, and I'm excited. I think this is going to be a fun little addition to the collection. Um, the other camera that has been huge in my bag that I'm sure nobody that follows me will find as surprising is the Leica M6. And then I've been photographing with this funky 35 millimeter f2 Zeiss. And somebody had like stripped all the paint off of it at some point. So this has been like my ride or die camera. I got it just over a year ago, and then it required a CLA, which I sent off to DAG and got it back pretty quickly actually. And it's been phenomenal ever since then. And I've used it, if not daily, pretty close to daily. So really excited about that. I've also been shooting so much film that I went ahead and got a little film holder, and then I've been photographing on a lot of blank rolls or bulk loaded rolls. So this here is Kentmere 400. I just loaded up 19 rolls of that out of a box. So I'm excited to shoot through that. I've also started to develop color film at home. I had been doing a lot more black and white photography and developing that black and white photography, but as of late, I like the rising cost of everything has gotten to me. So I started developing everything at home with the Cinestill CS41 kit, and it's been great. So I'm going to continue doing that. I just developed 20 rolls, some of which was over New York Fashion Week, and I figured I would share some of those favorite photos here with you today. So this first photo, really neat, actually really interesting too. I shot this when I was walking to an event at New York Fashion Week, and I just came across this girl, and I loved her outfit. I love the colors. Um, Personally, I'm over the snow. If I don't see snow again for 9 months, I'll be perfectly fine with that. And I had my like M6 with me with the 35 f2, but I also had a roll of 120 Lomo 800 that was expired. And at the time, I still had my Mamiya 645 with the 80 millimeter 2.8, which I recently sold to get the contacts. But I made this frame with that camera, and I really love the way it looks. I think the colors are beautiful. Um, Everything's so simple about it. I wish like I had pulled her off a little bit from the fence line there because the fence is still pretty sharp, and I wish I would have just brought her forward a foot or two, or back a foot or two. I don't remember why I chose to put her exactly there. Maybe it was just out of speed because I was actually headed to another event when I made this. This is another favorite photo that I made. It was during Fashion Week, and I was just hanging out in Soho, and I had the Leica M6 with me. And at the time, I was working through several rolls of Fuji Superia Xtra 400, also expired. I think all of it expired in 2020, but I got a really good deal on it all, and I had saved it for like months. And I was like, I'm going to use this to photograph Fashion Week. I really loved the little shrimp on the side of her head. I thought it was just so good. She actually had one on either side, so both sides of her head had the same thing, and the colors were just so vibrant, especially against like this very muted background. I was in love with it. I thought it was amazing. This is another favorite that came out of that batch of Superia that I had. I was just walking down the street, and these four girls were meeting for lunch, and their dog was just sitting on their lap. And I really kind of like, I love the red. I thought the red was very beautiful, but I also just loved the dog's expression, where he just kind of looked like, as all of these other people are talking, if I could just get out of here, like, like maybe he's like watching something across the street, and it seems so much more interesting than where he's at. So I really love that one as well. I've been working on this like portfolio work over the last probably like 2 years now, where I've got about 500 photos of people carrying their pets around New York City. So it's either like dogs or cats. I have some birds, maybe some lizards, snakes, a little bit of everything in that portfolio. I think I even have a ferret in there at some point. And so I'm always on the lookout for pets being carried around. And I love that they just had the bag open on this and the cat just hanging out. And then right as I took the photo, they gave me this like look, and I was like, this is incredible. So really love that one. This is another portrait that I made in Soho. This is with the Superia 400, um, Leica M6, 35f2. Her outfit was incredible. I also made a full body portrait, but I just loved how tight this looks, and then being able to see like the buildings and the reflection of her glasses, especially having such a neutral background. So we got like a ton of snow here in New York City, and I was beyond over it. Even as it was coming down that second time, I was like, I'm just over it. We had had such a cold winter, and and the snow lingered for so long that it became just absolutely disgusting. So definitely beyond it. But I photographed this in some yard while I was walking by. These people had these lanterns set up, and I loved the way the light was playing off of the snow. So as the snow was slowly but surely melting, I spent a lot of time in Soho, and one of the streets that I particularly like to photograph on is Prince and Broadway. And right there, there was this huge snow pile, like closest to me, closest to the camera, and it really kind of like created this narrow path to cross the street. So I stood there for a couple hours photographing, and I love this photo. This little girl holding her sibling's hand, the siblings being picked up and carried across this like threshold of disgusting water out here in New York, and I just love it. It was made with the M6 35, and then Kentmere 400. Some more street photography. I took this just at a quick moment glance. I just loved her expression, and the guy holding the flowers looked like he is in trouble right now. So I thought that was really funny. I'm always chasing after these guys that have bags full of baguettes around Soho. For some reason, it happens all the time. Like a couple times a day, I'll just see people carrying these bags stuffed to the brim with baguettes. So I'm always looking for a way to photograph them. I really like this one. I wish there was a bigger separation between the guy up front here and the people in the background, but it is what it is. I thought this one was just funny, having the NYPD truck in there, and then somebody had drawn graffiti with the hands up. I thought that was so funny. Another photograph from my project on photographing people and their pets. This one's actually done with the Leica M246 monochrome, and I'm pretty sure I was probably still with the 35 here, maybe with the 28. But I just saw this guy walking down, and he had the dog in his coat, and he was walking another dog, and uh, and I just loved it. I shot it really fast from the hip, and I think it turned out neat. Here's a photograph from the big snowstorm, the first one that we had, not the second one. I didn't actually go out into the blizzard conditions, but this one was a lot of fun. We walked around for like 4 hours. I think I did like 6 miles that day, and I remember you'll find a photo of it. But at one point, we crossed the street and came across like one of the little stations for the bus stop, and it said that the temperature felt like, or the temperature before the feels like was 9 degrees. So it was pretty brutal, and surprisingly, my M6 held up phenomenally well through that, and it's still going strong, as well as the 35. And I had actually photographed a lot with the flash on there, with the Godak's IT30 Pro. I had put it on top there and photographed with it, and it still works today. That thing was sopping wet by the end of the day. This one was funny. I saw this rat trying to get into the trash can, and I was walking by. I just had the 35. I framed it as best I could because he was moving faster than I was ready for, but I got myself as close as I could get without spooking him and like scaring him away from what he was doing, and was able to get this photo, which I really liked. I thought it was really funny. I wish it was a little more clear. I think I was photographing at like a 60th of a second or something like that. Um, but still, I thought it was funny. One of the things that I did a lot too was explored flash with my street photography, which is not something that I had typically done. Um, you have to have a certain level of nerves in order to photograph with flash on. So I was walking around, this is in Midtown, and this girl was absolutely shocked that I photographed her walking into the store, but it was really about the hand. I really liked that the hand was pressed up against there and holding the door like that. Yeah, more color film from Midtown. I recently took out a Contax RTS with a 50 millimeter 1.8, I think, and had some fun with that. And this is from a roll of that. I think this is Ultramax 400. It was really fun. I really love the separation that lens gave me. It's not something I don't often photograph with 50 millimeter nowadays, but I thought it was a lot of fun anyway. Photo of Rob. This is also with the Ultramax. I photographed Rob inside. I think he was fixing something on one of my cameras when I was in there. More flash stuff. These guys passing what I assume is a bong wrapped up in some holiday paper, headed to a party of some sort. This one I missed focus, but I really loved like the kid here with his lip out, just kind of pouting. And then kind of at the beginning of winter, as it was setting in November and December, I was photographing with a project that I was working on with Harlow, the lighting company who's lighting this right now. I had set up this light out in Soho and was photographing people as they came through the area, just doing impromptu portraits of just about anybody who'd be willing to be photographed. But while I was standing there, I ended up convincing Fox to step into the frame with his Nikon, and he just gave me this perfect expression, and the light was just so beautiful, and I knew the background was going to be completely gone because I photographed this with the M6, but this time with a vintage Canon 50 millimeter f1.4 is an LTM lens. I think it rendered so beautifully, and I love like it's the depth of field is really shallow, but at the same time you can still read like on his rings it says faith and love, and his expression, and then the camera and all of the bokeh. I just thought it was so amazing. I just thought the scene was so great. It really made me kind of double down on film at that point. This was a Portra 160 that was also expired. I've been shooting a lot of expired film. So neat. So that's a look at some of my favorite photographs from the winter, most of which were on film. I'm really excited about this kind of like new journey to photograph more and more on film. Um, Definitely doubling down on my black and white work, as well as doubling down on color, especially now that I'm developing at home. I do want to start getting into printing too, especially darkroom prints, because I think it would be a lot of fun to see that process go from start to finish. You know, wrapping up my own cassettes of film and then getting all the way to the end of seeing a finished product, darkroom printed in my hands. So that's the next step. Fingers crossed, we'll be getting there pretty soon. But in the meantime, if you guys are over on Instagram, you can check me out at Sean P. Bruce. And if you're in New York, shoot me a message and we'll go out and photograph sometime. So thanks so much for watching. Later.